Every few months, somebody on the internet starts a debate about which programming language should you start first. Python versus JavaScript, JavaScript versus C++. Somebody always throws Rust in there, and then everyone argues about that for a week. And the whole conversation kind of misses the point. Because in 2026, if you're starting from zero and you want to learn how to code, the answer is Python. And it's not even a close call. Now, before anybody comes into the comments with their preferred language, I'm not saying Python is the only language that matters or that the other languages don't have their place, because they do. But we're talking about where to start. And Python wins that conversation almost every time for reasons that are pretty hard to argue once you actually look at them. Real quick, if you're on a coding journey right now or you're trying to figure out how to get into software engineering, go ahead and subscribe, because that's a lot of what I'm covering on this channel right now. And my personal journey with that, I'm in the middle of this myself and I'm bringing you along. So let me start with the most practical reason first. Python reads like English. And I don't mean that in a basic, it's easy kind of way. I mean structurally, the way Python is written maps closer to how you actually describe a process in plain language than almost any other language. There's no semicolons at the end of every line. The indentation is part of the syntax so the code visually reflects its own logic. When you write a loop or a function in Python, it looks close enough to a sentence that your brain can follow actually what it's doing without having to translate through a layer of symbols first. And for somebody who is learning to think like a programmer for the first time, that matters a lot. Because when you're starting out, the two hardest things are the logic and the syntax. If the syntax is constantly fighting you, you can't focus on the logic. Python removes that friction early so you can actually spend your mental energy on learning how to think through problems instead of memorizing punctuation rules. But the bigger reason Python wins in 2026 specifically is where it actually shows up in real world. And this is where I think the conversation usually gets too abstract. People debate languages based on performance, benchmarks, or theoretical use cases. But let's just talk about what's actually being built with Python right now. Automation. Like actual workplace automation. Scripts that handle repetitive tasks, that move files, that pull data from one system and push it into another. This is honestly where I started paying attention to Python, because coming from an IT background, the amount of manual, repetitive work that constantly exists in most organizations is wild to me. And Python scripts can eliminate a huge chunk of that. That's real, immediate, practical value that doesn't require you to be a senior engineer to deliver. Data science and data analytics. Python with libraries like pandas and NumPy is basically the standard toolkit for working with data at any scale. And if you want to go anywhere near data roles, and data is everywhere right now, Python is the entry point for you. Web development with Django and Flask. These are Python-based frameworks powering real production applications, not just toy projects. Real apps with real people use. And then there's one that I think changes the entire calculus in 2026. It's AI and machine learning. Like, dude, if you've been paying attention to where the technology industry is going, you already know that AI tooling is not a niche anymore. It is the industry, and the primary language of AI development, the language TensorFlow and PyTorch and basically every major AI framework is built around. Guess what? Python. Which means learning Python right now isn't just learning a useful tool. It's positioning yourself at the intersection of the most in-demand skills in the entire tech industry. Automation plus AI plus data plus web. Python sits in the middle of all of it. No other beginner-friendly language does that. And I want to be real with you about where I am personally with this because I think it's relevant. Right now, I'm going through the Google IT Automation with Python course through financial aid. And I want to tell you what actually surprised me about it, which is that a lot of the concepts clicked faster than I expected. Not because I'm some natural programmer, but because coming from an IT background, I already understood the problems Pythons were being used to solve. I seen these problems in the real world. I just didn't have the tool to fix them programming. Why did I choose this word? Program mid program meticulously yet. Gosh, why did I choose that word? It still fits though. And that's the thing about Python specifically. If you have any technical background at all, the gap between understanding the problem and being able to write the solution is smaller than you think. The language doesn't fight you, it just kind of meets you where you are. Now, I know somebody watching this is thinking, okay, but what about JavaScript? You need JavaScript for the web, and what about C++ for performance? What about Go? What about Rust? Because some places still use that. And honestly, here's my take on that. Those languages all have their place, and eventually, if you go deep enough into software engineering, you're going to touch more than one. And according to other software engineers in their day of the life videos, take it with a grain of salt because everything on the internet is just the highlights, not necessarily the raw points. But a lot of what it boils down to is learning as you go, but understanding the fundamentals first. And the goal right now is not to learn every language. The goal is to learn how to think like a programmer, how to break down a problem, how to write logic that actually does what you intend, and how to debug when it doesn't. You learn those fundamentals in Python, and then picking up another language later becomes way more manageable because the thinking transfers even when the syntax doesn't. The first language is always the hardest, making it one of the make make it the one that fights you the least while still being useful in the real world. Python is that language, and in 2026, it's not even a debate worth having. So if you're sitting there on the fence about where to start here. Get that Google IT Automation with Python course or any structured Python curriculum, or even through free code uh, free code academy or anything else like that. Build something small, break it, fix it, build something slightly less small, and that's the whole process. The language debate is just a distraction, just like any other debate. The only thing that matters is the starting. And Python makes starting the least painful than it's ever been, so there's really no excuse left.